evening and welcome to the Joust. Now, Liam, where are we?
I don't know, Nagy. I rarely, if ever, know. That's up to you to tell the punters, I think.
Now, quite often after we finish recording, we decide to come down to the Commonwealth Hotel. Now, we decided to cut out the middleman and just start the podcast from the Commonwealth Hotel.
I think that's one of our better ideas so far.
We haven't had many, so I think it's probably our second idea in total, but we'll work from that. Now, Liam, it wasn't the result we wanted on the weekend with the game against the Bulldogs. Now, I had a really funny feeling about this game because I came into it seeing... I went to the game, and I went to the previous game last year around the same time, and we lost Kalen Ponga, Slade Griffin, and we lost that game. We played the Bulldogs into form, and I just had the willies. And when I arrived at the game, emotions were high. Mitchell Pearce coming back, being the halfback, you know, we all know and love, off the back of the winning series, and we scored the first try over the head of the young winger that we let go on
Nick Meaney. Yeah, and that was a pass for the ages. That's one of the best passes you'll ever see for to set up Sean Kenny-Dale's try. But you're right, the Knights came out looking $1 million. They looked very, very strong right off the kickoff. Plenty of running. Lots of energy. It was an energetic opening 20 minutes.
With that $1 million, we gambled spades, and that was the incorrect icon. It was actually diamonds.
All came up diamonds.
It all came up diamonds for the Dogs because we didn't really score again right up until the back end of the game. And it just fell through our fingers like sand through the hourglass.
It really felt like the Knights should have been 2 or 3 tries up after 20 minutes.
A lot of things were going our way. A lot of things were going our way. And then it was a typical game in the sense that we lost the penalty count, and a typical game in the sense that we were slightly disappointing.
I was a bit worried. The Knights looked very frantic in the attacking 20 zone. So Mitchell Pearce just seemed to have a bit of fatigue from Origin. Let the other players run the game, Mason Lino especially, and the attack on the Bulldogs try line just looked a bit frantic and not too well organised.
There was definitely some standouts from the Knights, and if you read the stats from players like Sean Kenny-Dale, 2 tries, 8 or 9 tackle breaks, and then Connor Watson, 10 plus tackle breaks, but we couldn't make the most of those. The Bulldogs missed a host of tackles, but we couldn't seem to take the next step, play that second man play. And really capitalise. Maybe it was desperado defence by the Dogs. Maybe they just wanted it more.
I think a lot of it was just errors from the Knights and poor execution.
There was lots of those as well.
Lots of those.
So we ended up going into half-time at 6-all. And I thought at that point it was going to be a bit of a tough one because our second halves haven't been strong. But then the Knights proved to be correct by coming out and having a not very strong second half. But that cultivated in a point... which I'll let you touch on, Liam. Another sin bin to add to our sin bin tally.
Look, the sin bin tally for the Knights has been catastrophic to say the least, and this most recent one went to James Gavitt, Jay Gavay as we call him here on the show. It was a marginal one. It was very marginal, I thought. The hit was a little bit late, yes. Didn't look to be particularly high, and it wasn't on a playmaker anyway. It was on one of their big blokes, Chris Smith. But look. You've got to be able to play. If you're the most sin bin team in the comp, you've got to be able to play with 12 men, and we just couldn't.
They should be used to it by now.
They should be used to it.
Apparently, at the beginning of the round, the referees have come out and said, now, we're going to be focusing on the late hits that are taking these players out and penalising them and sin binning them. This is going to be what's happening from now on. Now, this is what we saw. Like, who else better to do it?
Jay
Gavay, but he's the perfect target because he looks like someone that would hit someone late, and he did. Look, I'm not saying it wasn't a penalty, but the way that the NRL can say that is definitely a sin bin is sin bin every other player from now on that does that exact same
Which
thing.
we saw in the very same weekend. 2 other players put on report for similar hits. Sin bins.
No sin bins.
None sin bins.
Now, in that time, it severely... it left us with some wanting there. With 12 men on the field, the Bulldogs scored almost immediately, and then we struggled to re-wrangle the game.
I'll tell you, 2 players from the Dogs, though, who had a huge impact and really turned the game in the Dogs' favour was Dallin Watney-Zalesniak and Corey Harawira-Naira. They were both running like possessed madmen out there, and they really got the Knights on the back foot, especially DWZ with his kick return.
I prefer DWZ. Both those players, I'm glad that you pointed out they played well because I can't pronounce either of their names. There's too many. I don't know.
The Bulldogs are becoming the new hyphen club. They're taking over from the Panthers. But Canterbury were bog average. Even in the second half, they were bog average. Their 5th tackle options were not very good. Their attack was fairly insipid, and yet they seized on those opportunities when the Knights were down to 12, and it's just, you know,
You would think
it hurt.
You would think we'd still be able to defend it against this team like the Bulldogs with 12 in the park for at least some of the contests. It seemed like as soon as we were down to 12, it was sort of like arms thrown in the air. This is it. And I was hoping for a bit of a fight back, and we did see a slight one with SKD going over under the post with about 5 minutes to go, and gave everyone at the stadium a little bit of hope, only for that hope to be dashed without coming up with the goods again. Now, that's 2 home games in a row that we've lost. 3 out of our last 4, coming off that 6-game winning streak. Are we in trouble?
Have the wheels fallen off? Has Danny lost his hat?
Yes. Is that an expression?
I don't know. It should be. If not, it should be.
It's possibly, maybe he has lost his hat, Liam, because now we're into this mathematical contention where we start talking about like, oh, we're up there, the birds are singing, the sun is shining, and there's a large rainbow over the stadium, and things are going great. Now, 8 games to go, we must win 5.
Must win 5, absolutely.
Now that's just to make the semis, to have a successful season. We've given ourselves every opportunity up to this point, but now we face a bit of an uphill battle with even teams like the Panthers, who we have as our final round, coming off 6-round winning streak.
That's it. They started the season horribly, but they look like they've clicked into form at the right time of the year.
Yeah.
But we seem to be in that position now where you rely on mathematics to keep you in the top 8, and that's never a comfortable place to be because you're always 1 win outside of, or 1 win away from not making it.
Yeah, and as long as what's interesting at the moment is you got a lot of teams down the bottom of the ladder beating teams above the ladder, so everyone's sort of beating each other around the middle, and you've only got these outliers like the Storm that seem to be just able to chalk up wins right through the season. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how, but they just keep doing it, and as they keep getting players torn away from them and retiring, they just keep replacing them with better players.
Yeah, it's quite something, that Storm system down there.
We must look forward, not backwards. Backwards, not forwards. Twirling, always twirling. And ahead of us now is the Roosters game. Because we had a bottom of the ladder clash, let's have a look at the top.
Let's go straight back to the top.
Let's see if we can beat anyone.
We don't like beating teams down the bottom. It seems unfair. It's not fun. So we got the Roosters next game. The last game, obviously, was that stirring victory, that 38-12 win over the Roosters at home. And since then, in their last 5 games, the Roosters have gone loss, win, loss, win, loss.
Yes.
So they've hit a bit of a rough patch of form. I think even though they've got 2 wins out of their last 5, that'd be considered pretty poor for them, being the defending premiers and the team stacked with talent as they are. But they're coming off a loss, and that's something I think to be scared of.
Kiri, Cronk back in the side for the Roosters, which is pretty scary considering when we did beat them, Cronk was being rested and Kiri got rested by Big Dan. So it's so welcome there. They're almost full strength side back, but I believe both props are going to the front of the judiciary. Jared Hargraves and the other fellow. So they might be without both of those.
That'd be handy. That'd be very nice.
Because
their props are very, very effective.
Especially Jared Hargraves, who obviously had a bit of a dog of the game last time they played us, but he's such an important part of that side to get those forward moving.
And Knights have got a couple of big ins as well. KP returns at fullback.
Huge.
Tao Mogul will be staying at the centres.
Interesting.
Kurt Mann moves to 5'8", and Mitch Barnett. Barney's back.
Yeah, no, Barney is back, and
Barney's back.
I think it's going to be good to have that loose cannon back firing away in every which direction, just at anonymous times. Like it's just going to be. He's such an interesting. He's a bit of a skitsy. He's a bit of a rocks and diamonds player. But I think hopefully he'll come back with the right sort of mindset to not try to crush or tackle anyone and hopefully just play some good football.
Which had to be a good mindset to have, not crush or tackling people. That's how I try to go around about my daily business.
Not trying to crush or tackle people.
Trying not to, but not always succeeding.
Hop on the bus and... we'll leave it for now. We'll leave it.
Yeah. Some of those people you meet on the buses in Mayfield, they need a crush or tackle every once in a while.
Once or two.
Once or twice.
Just to put their spine back into alignment.
Yeah.
It's from all the drugs you see. But it's going to be an interesting game coming up, obviously. I think with Kalen Ponga back in the side, Kurt Mann as that good running 5'8", and Pearce. Look, it's tough to win down in Sydney. Very tough. And also kind of Watson coming back to the bench with Danny Levi starting. I think we should be able to inject Connor the same way the Roosters did successfully for so many years.
It's a bit of a shame about Connor Watson being benched. I thought the last few weeks, even in losses, he's been very, very good.
Yeah.
Like you said, at fullback against the Bulldogs, he was excellent. He was really good. And in that loss against the Warriors, it was only that one error towards the end that kind of put a negative on his game. But I think he's been fantastic. So a bit unlucky, I think, to be pushed back to the bench. But we all know what he can do at 14 and what he offers. So I don't think it's a demotion so much as it's just a jostling of positions.
I think he'll still get plenty of minutes coming off the bench. We're going to take a quick halftime break and we'll be right back from more of the Joust from the commie.
The Blues slow to get back into the line. Oh!
Intercepted by Lockie!
He scored!
Oh no!
Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. We're here at the Commonwealth Hotel, our favourite place in the entire world, with a Murray's 262, our favourite beer in the entire world. There's lots of our favourites going on here tonight, Liam.
It's a night of favourites. We're talking about the nights. We're at the commie. We're discussing. We're drinking 262s.
And you, Liam, you're also someone that I know. So,
Thank you, Nagy. Much appreciated.
what's making news this week, Liam?
Look, news this week. We're keeping it pretty simple for this week. The first piece of news is that Garth Brennan has been sacked by the Gold Coast Titans.
Shocking.
Now, yes, I think even blind Freddie could have seen this one coming. Garth Brennan's hardly been a coaching revelation up there at the Titans, but it seems like it's all a bit of a shambles up there anyway, regardless of the coach.
I thought that the only reason he was sort of there was because they didn't really have anyone else.
I think that may be the case.
Because after his appointment as a coach that has no NRL experience, but it seemed like everyone liked him.
That's it. He had some big raps on him. I think a lot of that coming from his time in Newcastle, coaching Newcastle juniors.
Yeah, maybe he was just a bit of a frequent, a man about town. Maybe they liked to see him at Fanny's nightclub and things like that. And I believe he was over at Stockton.
Could well be the case.
Maybe, but now he's no longer with the Titans. He has been sacked. It was talked for many weeks, but the guy from the board who made the decision to sack him came out and said that the reason we sacked him, we assumed that he was going to be. We thought this was going to be a top 8 side. Surely that guy should be reassessed of his performance.
I think he should be reassessed. Yeah, that's ludicrous.
Maybe, intellectually reassessed.
He can't be thinking that when you've got a squad like the Titans. You just can't be thinking that. But look, there's been a few names thrown in the ring to replace him. Possible replacements include Kevin Walters, Jeff Tuvey, Justin Holbrook, Craig Fitzgibbon and Adam O'Brien. Now, it's a lot of blokes who haven't coached first grade, but with a few oldies thrown into the mix.
With Tuvey, with his investigations, and he spent some time as a detective as well. And it was he really shone to it. I think everyone's leaning towards Tuvey. I think everyone wants to have Tuvey back in the NRL. He left at a time. He was sacked when it wasn't really anything happening, like particularly wrong. He got lumped with that other fella, Des Hasler's
back-ended deal.
Yeah. So it was like, well, was he a bad coach?
No, he took Manly to a grand final.
Was it to a grand final?
2013, where they were beaten by the Sydney Roosters.
The other birds.
Yeah, the other birds.
The two birds. Bring back Jeff. Get him back.
I'm all for it. Bring back Jeff. But it's like we were discussing earlier. I think if this one doesn't work out with Jeff, that could be it for the Titans. The Titans could be
roll of the die.
That's it. We've rolled the die plenty up on the Gold Coast. So how good is the Gold Coast? It's like I've said this 100 times before. The only person I've ever met who enjoys the Gold Coast is this man right here, Nagy Nagwell.
I did in my youth.
You did in your youth.
Now I went up there recently. I was like, why is it so loud? Can't everyone just keep quiet now?
See, I never thought your mind would change on that. I thought you were Gold Coast for life.
No,
interesting.
Just
there you go. There you go, Jousters. Nagy's off the Gold Coast finally.
Liam, a particular thing happened this week with the referees that was a little bit different.
Now, this is a huge step forward for the NRL, and I think it's a step in the right direction, and it's probably a bit overdue. But Belinda Sharp, this week on Thursday night, so when will Jousters be watching this? On Thursday. So tonight, Jousters, tonight, this very evening, Belinda Sharp will become the very first female NRL referee when she refs the Brisbane versus the Dogs game.
I have my opinion about this, Liam, and people will call me a chauvinist. They'll call me a pig, but it's not necessarily related to this. I think this is an AFL. I think this is an NRL referee's move of, I believe, as you said earlier, watch this hand up here while this hand down here keeps ruining games for the players.
Now you think it's all a bit of a PR stunt, Nagy?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They've had a look. They go, how can we improve the image of the referees? I know. We will make this groundbreaking thing right in the back third of the season. It's like, why wouldn't you just start her in the regular referees rotation? It's the same as if they said, look, this is the youngest player ever to referee. Please give everyone a big round of applause for this person. Or this is the first person from Uganda to come and referee. You know, and this needs something like that. And everyone's like, oh, well, that's positive. It's a positive story by a referee. It is, but the referees are doing terribly.
Oh,
Why wouldn't they do this at the top whenever at the start of the season when no one was talking about the referees? That's a good time to bring in the new person.
That is a good time to bring in a new person. But, I mean...
Good on you, Belinda.
But it's better late than never. And she's come through the QRL, I believe, and come through on her own merits. And she's done a lot of touch judge work. She was touch judge at the last Rugby League World Cup.
She's probably
eminently qualified for it.
My thing isn't against Belinda necessarily, it's but how they've done it and when they've done it.
Just against the refs in general.
Yeah.
It's always fun to bag out a ref.
Now,
It doesn't
interesting.
matter gender, race, religion. It's just fun to bag out a ref.
Ref. Yes. There's interesting what our producer Josh and Sam brought up was what do you call a referee who's a woman? Because Sir is the call.
Sir is the call, and as I said to Josh and Sam before, I think I recall the days in my Newcastle and Hunter Rugby Union career where we did have female refs, and I'm pretty sure we just called them Sir as well.
Sir, right, yeah. Because you can go with Miss, but Miss is a little bit...
It seems a bit condescending.
A little bit condescending.
And you can't say Dahl. Dahl's out.
I think Dahl dropped
Dahl's
out.
out.
You can still use... Who uses Dahl? Everyone has one uncle that still uses Dahl when they go through drive-through McDonald's.
Yeah.
Which might be just me.
I suppose we could say ma'am.
Ma'am?
Because it's a position of power. When you think ma'am, you think a lady in a position of power.
I think I'm for man.
Yeah.
It sounds a little bit like man.
But then at the end of the day, look, we've got NRL players who are going to be dealing with this, and God knows their track record's not good.
They've got to go with... I can't wait for the first person who goes, oh, sir, ma'am, this, and we'll just watch them.
Do you think it'll curb the swearing?
I hope so.
As you know, good Christian boys don't swear in front of women.
Yes.
And all the members of the NRL, good, honest Christian boys.
Yeah.
So do we think it'll curb swearing in the game?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if anyone drops any F-bombs around the female ref. I guess there's been touch judges before that have been females.
There've been touch judges, yes.
So this is but it's going to be interesting whether they're in the middle with the camera and the whistle and everything and the full control. Interesting to see. We wish Belinda all the best.
We do indeed. Next item in the news, Nick Kotrick. Did you see this one, Nagy?
Yeah, spear tackle.
Sent off and will be suspended for 3 games for a spear tackle, grade 3 dangerous throw charge.
Yeah.
Now, Ricky Stewart.
Sticky Ricky, yeah.
Sticky Ricky. I was about to say Ricky Martin. It'd be great if Ricky Martin came out to defend Nick Kotrick. That'd be wonderful. But he didn't. Sorry, fans.
Ricky Martin, can you please come and coach the Titans so we can have 2 Rickies in the coaching?
That'd be wonderful. Anything better than 1 Ricky's too. But Ricky Stewart came out, vehemently defended Nick Kotrick, said it wasn't a spear tackle.
Yeah.
I think I agree with him. It was more of a power bomb.
Yes.
It was some form of wrestling move, but I think it was more of a power bomb. Kotrick left his feet, he drove into the ground, then kind of dove. It was pretty impressive. If you're looking at it from purely a WWE point of view, it would have been considered a very impressive feat.
Surprised Kotrick didn't get up and then try to pin him.
Yeah.
And then just... Or if the referee comes in and slams...
Starts the count.
Yeah. Is it a 3 count? It's a 3 count in WWE.
It's a 3 count.
Yeah. It's but yeah, Nick Kotrick obviously facing 3 weeks. So I think it was just... It's one that just look bad. You know, it's when the person gets dipped and then everyone goes, oh, and then it's sort of like we have to react.
Legs are up in the air, kicking.
Always
like
kicking.
A dead man.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
And the last item in the news now, Nagy, I know you hold a soft spot for this particular player, Blake Austin. He's been selected in England's elite performance squad.
What does that mean?
Now, what that means is he's essentially in the train-on squad for what could be the Great Britain Lions side at the end of the year. Now, I thought you might be interested in this, Nagy, because he's only recently left Australia.
Yeah.
He's qualifying through an English grandparent.
He's been over for 12 minutes.
He's been over there for 12 minutes, and he's already getting picked in their train-on squad. So I thought I might get your input on that, Nagy. What do you think?
Well, it's just a bit too soon. At least give the allure that he's been over there for quite a while and maybe has citizenship. Guaranteed he's probably just going over there on his grandfather's passport, I'm assuming. Like, by saying, like, oh, look, I'm a passport holder, but, I never really met him and he fought in the war. That's, it's one of those things that he's so far default. I don't know, he's probably very much in tune with
his English background.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, we can still remember him playing for New South Wales over here, and
Blake Austin never played for New South Wales, Navy.
He did.
Blake Austin, no. He played for New South Wales City.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But, he was still around there, and you didn't hear a word of it then. He didn't say, but I'm English. When he didn't sound like he was from England.
No, he definitely had a very strong kind of Mudgee accent.
I wish him all the best. Good on you, Blake. You're tearing it up over there.
He is tearing it up over there. He's a contender to win the Man of Steel. He's absolutely killing it there for Warrington Wolves. So I say good on him. And as someone who, identifies strongly with his grandparents' heritage, I can understand why he would do so. But
Sure. But your grandfather's heritage is the same as your mother's. So
yes.
It's not like it's one step closer. Anyway,
I had an Ancestry.com account for a while. I signed up for it when I was really drunk one night. Yeah. I didn't realise they'd charge you every month, so it was like 2 months before I realised I was getting money taken out of my account.
You can do 30-day free, do all your searching, and then you opt out.
I did the free trial, but I forgot to opt out. So Ancestry has about $60 out of my pocket that I didn't actually use.
I did the same, but then it turns out I didn't actually know my grandfather's first name. Because I always called him Doug.
Doug?
But his name was John.
You should know, there's a wing in Gosford RSL named after him. You should know this.
Yeah, but then the selling went because they had J.W.D. Fagan. And it was John William Douglas Fagan. And I said, who's that? And they go, that's your grandfather. I said, but his name was Doug.
Papa Doug.
His name was John.
His name was John. Everyone's name is John over the age of 80.
It's true. It was like 50% of blokes in the 50s were named John.
Yeah. All right, but that's all for the news. Now we're on to the sack, ladies and gentlemen. Now, apologies to the fans. I put the sack out a bit later than usual this week. But again, a rousing response from all the jousters out there. Wonderful response,
You don't have
guys.
to get your sack out for too long before people start taking notice.
Absolutely. No, it's very noticeable. Now, the first question comes from Cal McDonald. Cal asks, should Nagy do a run-it-straight challenge against the Saifidi twins?
I'll do it. I've copped enough pain in my life, Callum, and that's just going to be another notch on the belt. Which I'm surprised Callum hasn't seen me in enough discomfort. But sure, we'll make a bit of a show out of it.
I think you do wonderfully, Nagy. I've seen Nagy play a lot of football. He's got a powerful running style.
Yeah.
And I think the Saifidi...
Powerful falling style. It's more of how I accept the fall on the flat of my back.
And look, it's just the Saifidi twins. How good could they be, really?
I hear
Who knows?
I've heard mixed reviews.
Now, K. William Wilson. This is a big one. Let's not beat around the bush here. We shan't. We're not want to beat around the bush here on the Joust, are we, Nagy?
Never.
We don't beat around the bush at all.
Shan't.
Was that loss on the week? No, that loss on the weekend was pretty bad. His question is, was it the most disappointing loss of the year, or do others spring to mind?
The Titans was bad. The Titans was bad. There was the whole run there. The Canberra was bad, but Manly was bad at how we lost it. There was all the ones that we have lost. I think are bad. Warriors
They're not
was
good.
bad.
They've not been good losses.
No. But no. It's not the worst ever, by any means. I think Kelly, you're wrong.
Similarly, Kelly thinks our best win or performance of the year has been the Roosters win.
Probably correct.
I think I got to agree with him. He's right on that one.
He's right on
We'll
that.
give you one, Wilson. We'll give you one.
1 out of 2.
Next one, Dan Howard. In Dan's opinion, the game on the weekend was a must-win as far as stability in the top 8, considering how close the ladder is. My question is, how likely is it that we now win 5 of our remaining 8 games, which we kind of need to do to make the top 8 after a performance like that at home against the bottom team in the competition?
Long message. But it was
Yes.
it's 5 out of 8. It's what we have to do. Obviously, every time we lose, it gets harder. It's like a cricket run chase. Every ball that's a dot, we need to score an extra run on the next one. It becomes the game of mathematics, and we're not putting ourselves in a good spot. But a win over the Roosters and everything changes. Suddenly, we're back looking at that top 4.
We're back in form, and I think winning 5 out of the last 8 is very achievable. It's a fairly easy run home, I think.
Don't curse us.
But
We have enough curses.
I've gone and said that now.
Yeah.
God damn it, I've gone and said it. But I think 5 out of 8 is very much doable, and Brownie and the squad have shown that they can, beat more
They
highly
can actually
fancied
beat
opponents.
this very team that we're playing this week.
Yeah, so hopefully we can do 5 out of 8. Gav Morton. Gavin, you're not actually going to miss the 8 again, are you? Gavin asks.
If you all revert back to a previous episode last week, you'll see that Gavin lost a thumb wrestle and didn't ever look like winning it either. So we'll leave it. We'll leave Gavin.
And we'll leave Gav there. Now, Mick Maher. This is a bit of a brain tinkler.
Tinkler?
Bit of a brain tizzler.
Don't say tinkler around these parts.
Now,
Robbie Chew will be at you.
say hypothetically, Mick gives us a hypothetical
Sure.
here. Knights make the grand final. Which 2 do we want with the whistles? I think you've got to go Matt Checken and Andrew G. They're my 2 favourite referees in the competition.
Yep.
And I think we should go with them. Ashley Klein and Jared Sutton seem to dislike the Knights.
2 I want. Belinda. Bring
Belinda?
Bring Belinda in.
Get Belinda in there.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's the only one that has shown that she doesn't have great disdain for the Newcastle Knights at the moment.
True.
So
that'll only take, one game?
Probably half a game before we realise that she does. But, bring her straight in, I think.
So who would you have with her?
I think she can do it on her own.
Do it on her own. Go back to one referee. Nice.
Yeah.
Seems to work for the English Super League, that powerhouse of a competition over there.
Yep. Yeah. Sisters are doing it for themselves.
They are. They're doing it for themselves and with themselves.
Exactly.
By themselves, sorry. By themselves.
Next, any more out of the...
That's all for the sack,
That's all
guys.
for
Thank
the
you again for sending in your responses. I will be posting next week's sack earlier. But yeah, this week it just got away from me.
What is happening with reserve grade this week, Liam?
Reserve grade this week, unfortunately, they had a loss last week. They were up against the Dogs as well. They lost 12-8. Their next game is away against the Panthers, and they're currently running 11th. So they've hit a bit of a rough patch here. Jersey Flegg last round had the bye. Next game they're away against the Panthers as well. So Jersey Flegg and the Canterbury Cup will both be playing at Panther Stadium. But they're running third currently, so they're having a real good fist of it. There's some good juniors coming through there as well, so promising signs for our Jersey Flegg side.
Fingers crossed. Obviously, a big game this weekend against the Roosters on Saturday. Saturday, the 3 o'clock game?
Saturday, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock game down there in old Sydney town. If you like us, please like us on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, Instagram, and I think they're all those social pipes. Big thanks to the Commonwealth Hotel for housing us this very night, and also big thanks to Murray's for supplying us with delicious beer. Thank you very much, Justice. We'll see you next week. Go, you mighty Knights.